The problem that I was trying to help solve for my Capstone project was too high carbon dioxide emissions and global warming. Global warming is a huge problem because it's causing more frequent wildfires, longer periods of drought, an increase in the amount and severity of hurricanes, and the sea level to be rising at a rapid pace. The destruction caused by the severe weather, along with the cost of associated health impacts, are expected to cost the U.S. at least $360 billion annually in the next decade. Although many groups are trying to conserve the environment and reduce the amount of energy used, global carbon emissions reached an all-time high in 2018 at 37.1 billion tons of CO2 being released into the atmosphere. My Capstone project connects to a variety of Jewish values. One of these values is pikuach nefesh, the saving of life. In Mishnah Sanhedrin 4:5, it says that Kol hamatzil nefesh achat meYisrael ke'ilu hitzil olam maleh, meaning that someone who saves a life is thought of as having saved a whole world. This relates to my project because by taking steps to limit climate change, many natural catastrophes will be avoided or will be less severe, which in return will save many lives. The other Jewish value that my project connects to is taking care of the world. In Genesis, God tells us to rule the fish, the birds, and all living things. In order to take care of the world, we are obligated to do as much as we can to try to limit climate change. My goal for my Capstone project was to reduce carbon emissions at a local level through education, advocacy, and community organizing. When I started my project, I planned to educate students and teachers on how they could reduce their carbon footprints by passing out flyers to each student before school. I was also going to partner with organizations and invite members to come speak at a lunch and learn. I additionally had ideas for community organizing, including making it mandatory to buy permits for parking at school and having lowered bus fees. Because of these new initiatives, people would be encouraged to carpool and take the bus. My other idea was to organize a school-wide fundraiser to raise money for some solar panels at school, so JDS would be using less non-renewable energy. Furthermore, I plan to advocate to my representatives and senators by writing a letter to them to convince them to vote for laws limiting carbon emissions. For the education aspect of my Capstone project, I decided it would be wasteful to hand out so many flyers, so I decided to invite experts to come to JDS. I reached out to the organization Greenpeace, which works to protect the environment and reduce carbon emissions, but unfortunately they couldn't come. Instead, I helped educate people at JDS by putting up flyers around the school that would educate people on how they could reduce their energy usage. For community organizing, I thought about doing many things. When I first started, my goals for the community organizing were to have parking permits. But after getting comments back from Dr. Apter on my proposal, I realized that it would be hard for people to carpool because of JDS's rule that student drivers can't carpool with each other, so I ditched the idea. Another of my ideas was to install solar panels at JDS. I emailed Mr. Belke, who's in charge of the school's facilities, but he told me that the roof at JDS is structurally deficient and couldn't hold them. I later wrote to Dr. Olipsky and Bill Belke to advocate for solar panels being installed on the ground behind the school. I also thought about the possibility of starting a compost and emailed Dr. Soffler, who has been one of the people in charge of making the lower school greener. From her, I learned that it would take too much labor for the school to compost all of the compost from hundreds of kids, and the school would need to hire a company to compost for them. These companies could cost $500 per month. Finally, I thought about other ways to make JDS more green, like having LED lights installed, which use less energy than normal lights, or having reusable cups for the cafeteria. It turned out that the lights had already been installed at JDS, and the cafeteria did not have the dishwashers needed to have reusable cups and trays. I then researched the alternative of switching to paper cups, which biodegrade much quicker, but I learned that paper cups take more energy to manufacture, making them not much better than plastic cups. Throughout my Capstone project, I explored many ideas. While I wasn't able to put in place any new programs, I hope to make these happen during my time in high school at JDS.